Hello and welcome back to another episode of The Walk and Talk. If you are a repeat listener, if you're brand new, a very warm welcome to you as well. Come on in. This is where we all gather around the cauldron once a week and get nerdy about all things dog. I do hope you enjoy your time here today. Now, it is customary with this podcast that you guys boot up and head out with your dogs, and I come along for the ride on your headphones, hence the title, The Walk and Talk. However, obviously, you are more than welcome to listen any which way you like. In reality, I'm here for all of it. Walking, driving, trying to get your co-workers to leave you alone in the office, whatever you like. It's all good. Now, on the subject of dog walks, if this is maybe an area of your life that you find to be a bit of a struggle, I've got you covered today, because for this week's podcast episode, I want to do a deep dive into the on-lead dog walk, or the on-leash walk if you are listening across the pond. I speak your language too. See, diaper, trash can, elevator, I've got internationality covered. A shameless admission that probably just reveals that my teenage children have spent far too much time on YouTube, but my kids actually speak fully American, not the accent, but the words, like they were born and bred in New York. My youngest literally will say, "You need to take out the trash, you need to walk on the sidewalk," in his most beautiful British accent. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I'm not here to bash the teens. I'm here to help you tackle pulling on lead. The biggie is the godmother of low-key dog behavior issues that all of us who own a dog that weighs more than 6 kilograms has probably faced at some point or another. And if that's you, if you feel seen, or even if you are literally being pulled along live as you listen to this right now on your full steam ahead dog walk, then keep listening, because I'm going to dive deep into what is going on, the real reasons behind it, and give you a practical, as is our way here, and very actionable strategy for turning this around. So, without further ado, let's start with some truth bombs. I feel like I just need to make sure we're all on the same page right from the start. So, pulling on lead is not a dominance issue. It is not your dog trying to be the boss or disrespecting you or any of that old school hot talk. It's simply this. Are you ready? Because it's jargon heavy. It's really sciencey. Here it is. Dogs move faster than us. That's it. They've got 4 legs, they're full of energy, they're motivated to explore the world through their nose. The very act of walking beside a slow-moving human in a straight line is, from a dog's perspective, weird and totally unnatural. So when we expect them to just get it, to just know that walking politely beside us is just the rule of the land here, we're kind of asking for something that isn't instinctive. It doesn't serve any of the core drives that motivate everything they do and live for as dogs. And so, look, it's incredibly unlikely to be their natural default setting, unless, of course, your dog is tiny or they are old. So, first of all, let's just give them some grace. They don't know what we want yet, and it's our job to teach them what we want in a way that is clear, fair, and actually makes sense to their dog brains. So, here's where we start. Before you even leave the house, the magic already needs to be happening. We already need to have our game face on at this point, okay? Because so often we think lead pulling begins when we're out there on the walk, on the pavement, but actually it begins the moment your dog realizes that a walk is probably going to be happening. They saw you pick up the lead, and then boom, your dog goes from 0 to 100 in 2 seconds flat. They're barking, spinning, jumping at you, they're pouncing around. You know the scene, right? And if we head straight out of the door from that energy state, we're already setting ourselves up for failure, because that emotional state, that, oh my God, I'm going outside, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, it's my favorite thing. That energy doesn't just vanish once you step out onto the driveway. It follows you. So our first step has to be that we train calm before we even open the door. And you can start by desensitizing all of the little cues that predict a walk. So pick up the lead sometimes and then just put it down again. Clip the harness on, feed a treat, and then take it off again. Sit on the sofa with the lead in your hand while you just watch TV. All you're doing is removing the big emotional charge from all of those little cues. You are teaching your dog the lead doesn't always mean explosion time. Sometimes it means absolutely nothing at all. And over time, your dog's emotional response to these cues will calm the hell down, which is a fantastic starting point. Now we can move on to the next bit. And once we've got our dog's lead on and we're all good to go, we're not just going to go. What you're actually going to do is before you head out, you're going to do a little engagement warm up, just 2 or 3 minutes, something that says, hey, dude, before we head out into the world, let's just get our brains connected. And this could be a few rounds of your favorite engagement games, stuff your dog is already familiar with, maybe mark and reward for eye contact or name response, or you run through a little trick sequence that your dog knows. You cue a few behaviors and reward them. Or you could play a quick scatter feed or ask for a little bit of calm, settle map practice. We're just asking him to use his thinking brain so that he keeps it connected and to engage with you so that he remembers that you exist. And then when you do go to leave the house, don't rush the door, because that door is the first big impulse control challenge. Instead, wait until your dog can offer you a moment of calm, like a sit or even just standing still with a loose lead before you open the door. And if you get stuck here and he just keeps barging past you towards freedom, just stop, reset, and try again. He will eventually figure it out, because that single moment sets the tone for the whole walk. And it's so important that we make our expectations clear and we just manage our dog's arousal level at all these little checkpoints to make sure we are heading for success. So that's your pre-walk game covered. Okay, now let's zoom out a bit and look at this from a concept training perspective, because nice lead walking isn't just an isolated behavior. It's a collection of concepts or skills that your dog needs to develop over time in order to be able to walk calmly on a lead. Now, in case you have not listened to my slightly older podcast episode that explains what concept training is and how it works, when I say the word concepts, I'm talking about the emotional and cognitive skills that underpin a behavior. So rather than teaching a dog what to do in one single scenario, we are developing the qualities in our dogs that make good choices possible for our dogs naturally in any scenario. So for lead walking, there are probably 3 big ones I would say we should be focusing on. Number 1 is proximity. So that is the value of being close to you. Number 2 is focus. So that's the ability to keep their attention on you despite distractions going on in the world around them. And number 3 is impulse control, which is the ability to manage those urges, like the urge to surge forward when they see something exciting or the urge to run straight through the open door. So those are the 3 concepts that I think are really pertinent to grow good, chilled, loose lead walking. So let's unpack each of them, okay? Now, proximity is one of the most underrated things in dog training. So many people try to just force proximity by tightening the lead or using restrictive gear on the dog or constantly correcting and snapping. But that doesn't teach any value in being close to you. It basically does the polar opposite, and it just teaches avoidance, right? Our dogs just learn to begrudge being constantly yanked this way and that. But for this to truly succeed long term, we need our dogs to choose to stay near us. And to get them to choose to stay near us, we need to add loads of value in that behavior choice. And you can do this, you can grow proximity value through really simple games. There are loads in my engagement training program, but if you're totally new to it all, you can literally just start with like a proximity party. So just walk around your living room or your garden and imagine like a little high value zone or a bubble of space that directly surrounds you. Maybe like a 1.5 to 2 meter radius, right? And every time your dog happens to appear in your bubble, in that zone of high value space, mark and reward. Don't cue it. So don't be calling them in for a reward. Don't lure them into it. Just watch and wait and notice and celebrate their choice to be near you, to be in that zone. And over time, you will see your dog actively wanting to stay close because it predicts good things. Then there's focus. So that's your dog's ability to tune into you, even when the world is full of squirrels, smells, moving things, all of that juicy stuff. Now, focus starts really small, indoors, no distractions. So you could just mark and reward for eye contact or name response or orientation changes, that sort of thing. Again, there are loads and loads of specific games and exercises for this in my engagement training program, as well as my design your own dog training pack, both of which you can check out at listendogtraining.com. And then just gradually over time, as your dog is succeeding, layer up the difficulty. So move it out to your garden. Then once he's nailing it there, move it out into the street and then the park and so on. And finally, the third concept that I think is really important to lead walking is impulse control. It's that ability to say, I want to go over there, but I can wait. And this is huge for loose lead walking, and you can grow it with a variety of really simple games like holding a treat in a closed fist and then rewarding your dog with access to it only when he disengages and waits, or by building in micro pauses during your walks. For example, when your dog hits the end of the lead, you just stand still and wait. And the moment they release that pressure or they look back or orient towards you, you mark and reward. Now, these are not just quick fixes, right? They are developmental skills and they take a bit of time and consistency. But once you put the time in, put the effort in to build them, to grow them, everything else gets easier. So, bearing in mind that, in all honesty, you are not going to transform your dog's lifetime of bad on lead behavior in one exercise or one day or whatever. Let's talk about realistically creating a system that makes sense long term. So you don't just get disheartened and give up, but you're going to see this through, okay? Because, like I say, you are not going to eliminate pulling on lead entirely and immediately. That is just not realistic. And dogs need times when they can move freely, when they know that they're free to sniff and explore, and yes, to be real, to pull a little bit, right? Hashtag sorry, not sorry. That's just natural behavior. So I like to set up a system, a clear communication strategy that tells the dog what type of walk we're doing today. So here's how that might look, right? If you've got a double clip harness, for example, you can use the front clip on the chest of the harness for your training or focus walk. So when you attach the lead here, this means to the dog, we're working, I need your brain. And then you can use the back clip for your freedom walks, if you like. And this means you're off duty, go be a dog. Or you might have two completely separate setups, maybe a different harness or even a collar for one type of walk and a harness for another. What matters is that your dog learns a predictable system. The equipment you use equals the expectations of that session. Dogs are incredibly adept at understanding contextual clues, right? So this way, you are not constantly fighting them or confusing them, or you're trying to lay down the rules one day and then you're just letting them get away with it the next, and they don't really understand where the boundaries are, but you are giving them clarity. And when your dog understands the rules of the game, they can actually win. And if they win, you win, we all win, right? So, not to be a Debbie Downer, but it would be remiss of me not to talk just for a second about what to do if things do go sideways. Because let's be real, some walks will go sideways. You'll have those moments when your dog is distracted, or the world's most interesting smell has just got a hold of their nose, or for whatever other reason, they are just charging ahead like a freight train today. Now, when that happens, I want you to pause, both literally and emotionally. Take a breath. Remember, it's not personal. Your dog is not giving you attitude. They're just being a dog. As my son constantly keeps telling me, it's not that deep. Don't get worked up over it. And then try a few mini reset games just to get things back on track there and then. So one of these could be a simple orientation change. Simply turn and walk the other way. When your dog catches up and reorients to you, mark and reward, and do it again and do it again. This helps them learn that your movement is really relevant. Another one might be a basic find it game. So toss a treat slightly to the side and then say find it. This resets their brain. It engages their nose and it brings the focus back down a notch. Okay. There's also the check-in game. So simply stand still, wait for your dog to look up at you, and wait. Don't nag, don't ask, don't cue. And the moment they do, mark and reward. Simple but powerful. And these micro exercises will help to regulate your dog emotionally mid-walk and help you stay calm too, because your mindset really matters. And I know, believe me, I do, working on loose lead walking can be incredibly frustrating. It's probably one of the top reasons people come to dog trainers, and I get it. It can make walks feel like a chore rather than a joy. But the thing is, our frustration, genuinely changes how we handle our dogs. If we go into walks expecting a battle, that is exactly what we will get. So I want you to reframe your goal. Instead of aiming for a perfect walk, aim for connection. Aim for multiple moments of success. Celebrate the small wins when they happen. Because remember, you're not training a robot at the end of the day. You're building a communication system with a sentient creature who is navigating a world full of fascinating smells and sounds and everything else. So be kind to yourself and be kind to your dog. Now, another really important thing to consider is that sometimes chronic pulling on lead isn't just a training gap, it's actually a symptom of a bigger issue. Because if your dog is not getting enough physical or mental exercise, all that bottled up energy is going to show up somewhere. And often it's at the end of the lead. So ask yourself truly, does my dog's lifestyle actually meet their needs? Do they really, truthfully, get enough sniffing, running, problem solving, exploring, social interaction, play, all of that stuff dogs need to thrive? For many dogs, especially working breeds, the standard like 2 half-hour walks a day before work, after work, toilet break, on my lunch break, that isn't really enough. They need brain work, they need enrichment, they need purpose. And again, I have older podcast episodes that dive into this kind of stuff in much more detail. So if you're not sure, go back through the back catalogue and have a listen. Don't just look at the lead, look at the whole picture, is basically what I'm saying. Try adding some scent work, some puzzle toys, more training games, or maybe some free runs in secure fields. Because another little hill that I'm happy to die on, by the way, is that dogs need off lead time as well. It's part of who they are. So if it's safe and legal where you live, or if you can rent a secure field, give them that chance to stretch their legs and move freely, because life on a short lead, marching around in straight lines, is honestly, it's not enough for most dogs. We want to give them opportunities to be dogs, to sniff, to chase, to dig, splash, play, run, whatever it is. Because trust me when I say a fulfilled dog is a far more cooperative dog. So, if all of this is resonating with you and you're realizing that you and your dog could use a little help building that connection, that spark, my 21-day engagement training course is the perfect journey for you to work through together if you really don't know where to start. 5-star engagement truly is the foundation of everything, including lovely lead walking. So if you want your walks to feel calm, connected, and cooperative instead of just chaotic, you will absolutely love that program. You can check it out on my website, listendogtraining.com. I'll also pop a link in the show notes. And remember, podcast listeners can always use the code podcast10 to get 10% off. So to wrap it all up, good lead walking isn't about control. It's about communication, okay? It's about setting your dog up for success before you even step outside, developing the right emotional skills, and creating clarity around when and how we walk, and remembering that this is a living, breathing, feeling animal who is simply trying to navigate their way through our human world. Right? Get to grips with all of this stuff, and then your walk becomes what it was always meant to be, a shared experience that brings you both joy, which is why we all got dogs in the first place, isn't it? Really? Okay, I think that's enough for today's walk and talk. I hope this episode leaves you feeling inspired, empowered, hopefully optimistic that this is something you can tackle if it's a struggle that you can relate to. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a fellow dog owner who's struggling with the daily drag. And don't forget to follow the show, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss our weekly walk together. Until next time, happy training, happy walking, and remember, connection first, everything else second. I'll see you same time next week for another episode of The Walk and Talk.